Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Brace yourselves.
What? We have breaking news coming out right now from unverified sources. We're just going to run with it. I was debating whether or not we do it, but let's just fucking go. We're hearing that Yuga this afternoon may be laying off a large chunk of their team. That's from, again, this is less verified than the Cool Cats news that we had years ago. So I just want to take a pause. I want to run through a scenario analysis real quick because I can't break the source that this came from. Unfortunately, a journalist never tells the source, and I'm gonna blame this on our research team. Should all go to hell as a result of this. But this is the information that we are getting at this moment in time from an unverified source. And so, with that in mind, massive Yuga layoffs this afternoon. Let's walk through a scenario in which this actually makes sense.
Okay. Can we walk through it?
Yeah. So can anyone on this stage kind of come up with an explanation for why that would actually go down?
It's the bear market. They spent a lot of capital on the other side. A lot. They've now shifted the partner who was building the other side. So they've ended up working with a competitor from the original one. And those are verifiable things. Other than that, I don't have shit for an answer, man.
So look, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, and also I wouldn't be surprised if a title and a subject like this attracts.
Let's not have fear creep into your veins, Pio.
No, it's not fear.
Stand strong on the rumor.
What I was going to let people know is that if there's something that I know about Nick, this is like his absolute favorite thing. He just can't help himself.
I really can't. This is actually one reason that my relationship, I had a fallout with Facebook as an organization because they would literally call me and they're like, Nick, we told you before you run with the news story, you got to contact us, because I'd write the story. Fox News and CNBC would be like, we're hearing from inside sources close to the organization. So let's just say we're going to do a little bit of community journalism here, a la Reddit style, I would say, where we collectively go and figure out why this story is indeed true. Okay. So,
well, and to be fair, and yes, Nick, ladies and gentlemen, Nick absolutely loves this. This is like actually maybe one of his favorite things. I don't even know like what I could say is like more of his favorite than exactly this. But no, oh wow! So NB said he's finding no other.
Nobody
sources.
knew that Yuga.
Never mind.
Was raising at a huge funding round. We broke the news. Financial Times quoted us on it, and we were completely correct on that story. The Cool Cat story. Get that information across our desk. Completely correct on that story as well, where we were wrong actually. So I'm gonna actually correct that. We said Yuga was acquiring them, and that was just
that was wrong.
That was just flat out false.
that part was really wrong, but everything else was right. But anyway, all right. So look, the way that this could be true is because how does Yuga Labs make money right now besides digital like NFT stuff, right? They actually could print money if they sold physical goods like they once did, but they basically had one merch drop that wasn't received well and just mailed it in. Like when was the last merch drop was the one with the soccer jersey.
Hold on. Are you saying so that like the way to resolve the situation is for them to sell some hoodies?
No, it's not the way. I'm just, it popped into my head that was an opportunity. I mean, look at what Luca's doing, right? Like Pudgy Penguins has a toy selling business, right? But anyway.
He doesn't have a massive staff. I think Yuga's up to 100, over 120 employees right now.
And they're paying, and they're paying engineers. They're paying engineers at the level that you pay engineers to compete with Roblox and Databricks and those companies over in San Francisco.
Annual burn, their burn is probably in the 20 plus million range. Yeah. I'm guessing somewhere around 30 million. How much did they raise from A16Z?
I think it was a lot of money. And they made a lot of money off of NFTs, but they probably paid a lot of taxes. They raised $450 million.
Holy shit. Well, they can afford the burn.
Right. But you still don't want like a layoff still would make sense. Bunny, you have your hand raised. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I heard this too, so now I'm freaking out. Hopefully they start with the council members because I haven't heard from one of them since they got elected. Really, like, I feel like they disappeared after that whole thing happened.
Wait, did you actually hear this?
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Wow. Well, now Nick's heart is pounding right now.
No, I know it's actually not. Well, what we need to switch is fix the title, Clemente, because you're saying rumors, you need to just say Yuga layoffs incoming. Like, and then maybe do like ... question mark. Okay, that's how you.
A little bit of tooling there on the title. Nick, anything else to add on this? I mean, it would make sense. It also wouldn't be a bad thing, although I'm sure people on NFT Twitter are so getting ready to start writing their threads and say that this is a bad thing.
I feel like they're going to maybe we get. This is one which you do not want to go up against a giant like Yuga with this sort of information. I want to be clear. We have single source, two places though now, because now Bunny became a source, but there's no doubt that he got it from the same person. So like that's how this information spreads in this space, and people can like in this space, people are just actually, wow, Clemente went bold with this subject matter or with this title. He just literally just made it a fact. He ended in period rather than question mark. He just said Yuga layoffs incoming. Dude, what the hell?
Well, anyway, if there's anything else you want to add on this, I think it's totally possible. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think NFT Twitter people will write threads about why it's so bad and blah, blah, blah. It's actually like kind of a nothing burger. It's pretty damn normal. Surprised it took this long, quite frankly.
Surprised it took this long, knowing nothing about the internal workings of their operation. I am shocked because it seems like there's some idiots operating.
No, that's not what I mean at all. See, you're perceiving it the way an NFT Twitter person would perceive it. This is just super normal, and all the like kind of big companies outside of crypto did their layoffs over the past year. Hundreds of companies, tens of thousands of employees. It's just kind of part of the game. And if they were hiring a bunch of expensive engineers to compete with companies like Roblox, well, first of all, they're probably going to keep most of those engineers, but they also what's going on, Nick?
This new title is looking juicy. Clemente is chefing up some updates there. He says, Yuga layoffs incoming disaster.
Well, Clemente's learning. He's just getting more and more bold.
To the new people who've entered the room, here's I just want to recap real quick. We have breaking rumors that Yuga laying off half their staff later today. That's the information we now have from a couple of sources. By sources, we don't know if the original source was one source or two sources. So it could be like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish sort of situation here. Our research team gave us this information. Yet again, we've run into situations in the past where the research team has screwed us over. So I don't want to make this entire space about this story. I wouldn't want to do that, but I would like to wait for another 500 people to come into the show to figure out whether or not this information is.
Nick, the problem or something that's kind of bothering me is that like there's not been any comments other than Noah Meatballs that was like, yo, this is crazy. Literally someone was like, this is bullish. Like, I am not surprised at all.
Because it is bullish. It's showing that they actually are operating a functional business. And I feel like Nick's like putting on an act where he's just like, what do you mean? This is so bad. It's going to blow up the business. It's like, dude.
Well, I didn't say it. I never said that. I didn't say, well, actually, I literally never said anything like that to start with this whole scenario that you're walking through. All I was doing was saying that there was a reasonable person would have interpreted your statement to basically be like, PO clearly has some inside information as to like what the quality of their hiring and the capacity and capabilities of their team. And right now it's just misaligned heavily, clearly.
No, that's not the case. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of positive comments about the potential
about the reported layoffs.
Well, anyway, we'll see what happens with all of that. We'll see if that is correct. If it's happening later today, then everybody will know. Not surprised that it would have leaked early. It seems to happen in this space quite a bit. Some other news, I guess, on our front for a Friday. Nick was actually featured in the BBC SBF documentary, literally. So there's a documentary put out by the BBC, and they just grabbed a clip of Nick from the FTX footage.
Described as a crypto insider.
Wow, Nick was a crypto insider. That's pretty good.
Of Sam's butt right there.
Followed by a picture of Sam's butt. But yeah, Nick's face just fills up the frame. Here it is right here. It's that phone footage where Nick says, I don't know why this guy isn't in handcuffs.
Who edited this thing? Was this a TikTok version on our account?
Must have been.
That video of Sam running in the Bahamas, I forgot that existed, dude.
With
that
his
whole
backpack
thing,
on
yeah,
and it like bouncing on his back.
I mean, he's just running around like a turtle. I mean, it's just like that whole thing is so weird. He's just this big marshmallowy turtle running around, juiced up on Adderall, and he's just like, I just lost $8 billion, and I kind of don't. I'm not even processing that yet.
I like how who's the guy that Michael
Greg Sanchez.
No, the book that just they did the 60 Minutes. Who's the author of the book? No, the author of the book.
The book,
Flash Boys, any of these other different things. Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis. Okay, Michael Lewis was interviewed by 60 Minutes, and he's sitting there, and it's like footage of Sam with his leg just like convulsing. Basically, it's worse than restless leg syndrome. Like it's just like he has a situation, and Michael Lewis is just like he's just so unique. So and I'm like, this guy's got a drug problem over there, and you're like, just absolutely fascinating there. His behavior is just so interesting. It's like this guy is like cracked out, trying to keep things together, having panic attacks basically, while he's like his back is probably all hives as a result of the stress that he's like dealing with at that point in time. And Michael Lewis is just like absolutely fascinating subject to study.
Well, people were absolutely roasting that guy, Michael Lewis. And I saw like a lot of tweets that were like, he just can't accept that he spent several months closely like hanging out with a criminal, which I actually could see the case. Like if it turned out that Nick was like a huge criminal now and Nick stole money from a bunch of people, dude. I would
be pretty badass.
I would feel some type of way about it. I would definitely be like, are you guys sure he's a criminal?
Turned on?
No, dude, no. But that's a funny comment to make for sure. Well, look, Clemente put in the call sheet to talk about the Drake album. I feel like given the title and everything, that would be an odd transition to move on to the Drake album right now. A lot of people would be mad on Twitter. That would make people mad. That's for sure.
Answer, no, I'm not listening to the album, but I will after this.
Look at that. He's hip. Look, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing the latest developments in the Sam Bankman-Fried trial. We're going to discuss that briefly because that's going to be a story for the next X number of months. And you're already seeing a lot of the crypto people really get excited about covering that. So you're going to have that from a lot of different angles. We're not going to spend too much time on that, but we will be joined by Christian from MetaMask to discuss MetaMask snaps, which we're excited about. We asked him to join the show because, MetaMask, a staple of the space, and we just didn't have that much info about MetaMask snaps and all developments on that front. Wallets, marketplaces, these are kind of the big pillars of technology in our space from the infrastructure side. Want to sink our teeth into that. And last but not least, we're going to talk about building a product for the next wave of crypto consumer adoption. So fun show for you guys. We're going to do the weather report now. I'm assuming it's old Kicks on the weather report. Is that correct, Kicks?
Yeah, and I'm ready to rumble, Coach. Today's Friday, October 6th. Market volume coming in at 9 million. Blur 3.5. OpenSea 2.6. NFT market leaders over the last 7 days. Bored Apes are up 9%. Azuki's up the same. Pudgy up 14. Digidaigaku up 12. CloneX down 15% as whales dump their holdings. Sproto Gremlins down 21%. Over the past 24 hours, Pudgy Penguins has announced that they have expanded the Pudgy toys to be available in all Smith's toy stores in the United Kingdom. So if you're a Cheerio chap, go out and get some. And there's about 117 stores in the UK. Pudgy Penguins are the winner of the week, up to a 5.5 ETH floor. Looking over at SocialFi, Friendtech daily volume is down over 40%. Reporting 7.5 million in volume yesterday. Only 7.5 million. They're only still bigger than all of the NFTs. However, hip hop account Daily Loud joined the platform last night with over 2.5 million Twitter followers, leading many to believe that their business development is getting done. Meanwhile, their Avalanche-based competitor Stars Arena recorded a healthy $2.7 million, holding relatively steady as its total value locked is up to $2 million. The crypto company layoffs continue. Ledger is expected to lay off 12% of its employees, reported by a recent company-wide email sent to the employees, citing the need for company longevity during the bear market. Lastly, Sam Bankman-Fried's trial continues, and during it, FTX's co-founder Gary Wang, he said, "I coded the back door for Alameda Capital to take customer funds directly from FTX," and he was instructed to do so by SBF. Web3 content creators Carly Riley and Tiffany Fong are attending the trial and believe that the trial has not gone well for SBF so far, who faces over 100 years in prison on 7 different charges. Back to you in the studio, Greg.
That's a long time, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, we got some updates from the Daily Digest. This is the Daily Digest that's posted to X every morning. It's pinned to the top of the Twitter Spaces stage if you are listening on Twitter Spaces. Also available if you subscribe at thenifty.com. It'll pop into your inbox. Luxury fashion company Moncler and Adidas have collaborated to release a 3,000 supply collection of AI-generated characters. More NFTs from Adidas, ladies and gentlemen. You needed those. Stars Arena has fixed an exploit of their contract in which the hacker effectively paid $5 for every $1 they drained. And Stars Arena claimed the little guy is under attack in a recent tweet. Drip House has minted at this point over 50 million CNFTs on Solana. That's a lot. Next story, Fidenza number 188 has sold for 120 Ethereum, $194,000, marking a high-ish sale in recent months. That's a black and white Fidenza, good-looking Fidenza. Maybe a steal. Maybe a steal. Last story, the SEC has sued Elon Musk over his $44 billion acquisition of Twitter.
Oh, my God, dude. Citing
a possible violation of securities law, and Elon Musk could be forced to testify as a result. Nick?
No, he skipped testifying before. This is a follow-on lawsuit because he did not show up. That wasn't properly written. And so Clemente dropping the ball yet again, but I mean, appreciate it. He tries every day, and that's why we love having him here.
Well, there you go. Look, first story. It's going to be a quick hitter, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, we're not going to spend too much time on it. Sam Bankman-Fried's trial. So the coverage from the trial testimonies this week has led many to believe that the evidence looks increasingly negative for SBF. No, not possible that could be the case. He currently faces over 100 years in prison with 7 charges, all of which he has pled not guilty to. So the question is, does the outcome of this trial have any effect over crypto as an industry?
No.
I agree. Nick, anything to add here?
No.
Hey, Nick, you got anything to top onto that?
No.
Cool. Easy. Have you paid attention to this at all?
I've been following it pretty closely. The CTO came out and was like, yeah, no, Sam told me to create the backdoor that allowed Alameda Research to go up to $46 billion in the red is what they said. So they said that they could go up to 46 billion in negative value, which I was like, damn. I think the only reason they decided 46 billion was because that's just how much they managed to rack up in debt. You also had another developer who testified. Somehow they haven't released his name though, but he testified with his face at the trial. And he stated that he was actually resigned as soon as he saw an $8 billion gap in funding. He couldn't figure out where it went, and because of that, he resigned. So it seems like you're getting some insiders.
That guy actually has, like, cojones.
Yeah.
The other guys that are like, oh, he told me to. Like,
well, it was the CTO. It was Gary Wang at the time. Was the one who was like, no, yeah, he just told me to do it, so I did it. I had to go get it, so I got it.
Didn't work for the Nazis. Like, you couldn't have been like, oh, Hitler just told me to go do it. Like, no, you got hung, dude. So why does Gary Wang get off free?
He's actually not on trial. He just testified against SBF.
Oh, he made me put the back door in. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought it was so he could go out. Like, what?
There were multiple other employees that supposedly were aware of the back door.
So they were
escalated the issue to executives. Saw that story out yesterday. And they all said SBF, just an absolute, he locked me in a room and forced me to do this. He actually said, you better put the fucking back door in there. Otherwise, I'm not unlocking your chain.
He pushed me up against the locker and said, you better code this right now.
Well, it is interesting
Things
because
got sexual there. Actually, it was kind of weird.
During the debacle last year, basically a year ago, there were people saying that they'd never seen any interviews with Gary Wang. People speculated that Gary Wang was a fictional person. They literally got to that point.
I thought it was. I mean,
a pseudonym for SBF is what a lot of people speculated on.
Well,
yeah,
it turns out. Here's maybe a conspiracy theory. What if he actually is fake? Like, what if he's not actually a real person?
So they just paid a stunt double to show up in court.
Like, was he in court?
Yeah, he was in court. Testified on the stand.
Well, there you go. So, but SBF, if he said that guy is not Gary Wang, that's my brother or some, I don't know.
He's definitely not real. Literally, someone just beat me to the joke. Elite artist beat me to the joke. The plane lady, the lady that said the guy was not real. We need her in the courtroom pointing to Gary Wang. He's not real. Okay.
Well, SBF also wanted to bribe Donald Trump $5 billion to not run again. So, like, he was all over it. My man had his hand in politics. He did donate to both sides of the campaign, just depending on who he wanted. But he was trying to get Trump not to run, and obviously offered a small boatload of cash.
Well, what he got back was a quote on how much Trump would require. So I want to be clear. That whole thing, just to me, is like, yeah, I mean, like, Trump didn't he wasn't like, I need to be president. Instead, he's like, I got to go make some money somehow in this process. And the current offer was $5 billion. The negotiation apparently ended right there. But there were other people involved in this conversation. There was an intermediary. Trump was the one who said $5 billion.
Interesting. That's awesome. I mean, that's a good solid number, to come out and say just $5 billion not to run. And then they say, okay. And then you say, nah, I'm still running. But did you guys hear that either Alameda or FTX invested in this AI company?
Right.
And it's now worth like 100x or 10. Like, almost all the FTX money they lost could be made up with this one AI investment.
That is a buzzer beater if I've ever heard one. That's probably the most interesting detail that's come out recently. The Trump detail is interesting too. Those are kind of the new things that I think are worth discussing. To me, everyone's rolling over on old Sammy Boy. Everybody's rolling over on him. Caroline, we knew Caroline was rolling over on him, and now Gary Wang is rolling over on him. It's going to be pretty tough to come back when all your people. I've watched Goodfellas. Yeah, I've watched The Godfather. I've seen the movies before, the Scorsese and the mobster movies. Come on now. It's going to be tough.
Big Wang coming in to drop some heat on SBF at the last minute, man. Talk about a buzzer beater. That was a good move there.
There you go. Well, look, we are going to transition into a little bit of a gaming discussion because you guys, everyone in the audience, you're going to be hearing about the SBF stuff a lot. A lot of the crypto publications, they just can't get enough of it. You are going to hear it quite a bit. So we will spare you. Anyway, gaming in Web3 really does feel as though it's heating up. Kix is a gaming CEO extraordinaire. Easy's been creating a lot of gaming content. It seems like gaming companies are noticing. Kix, what do you make of the current climate for Web3 gaming entities?
Huge layoffs.
Yeah. I mean, legitimately, you are right, Nick. And that's not just in Web3, that's in gaming across the board. I think there was definitely some like over expansion in 2021, 2022. There's a lot of gaming studios that are like shutting down right now. There's definitely some existing studios in Web3 that are probably struggling, but there's also still been like really well-funded studios that are doing big things. Proof of Play over with Pirate Nation. I mean, Yuga Labs, even if they're laying off half their staff, they still have a lot of money to be producing and developing games. So I think it's really bullish. I do think over like the next the issue right now is we're not seeing a ton of new funding. So like the funding that came in for Web3 gaming in 2021 and 2022, those kind of have to drive some success for the space in order for like more funding to come in and for more cool and interesting things to happen. But I'm super lasered in on the on-chain gaming side just because it makes a lot of sense to me. It really aligns with like the ethos of the blockchain. And there's some really interesting stuff going on there. It's still very early. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely bullish going into 2024 for gaming.
That's great to know. Easy, what do you make of what's going on right now with Web3 gaming?
It just continues to show that it seems like right now it is what a lot of people are focused on. That's like kind of the main thing. Like I keep looking at it and I'm like, this is where a lot of people understand the use case for it, get excited about it. And at the moment seems to be where a lot of the shift is happening. We've always talked about digital ownership and assets. And right now you're finding games that people are actually enjoying. I know 2 years ago was the thesis, but games take a while to develop and we're finally getting some ones that people are really enjoying. There's a lot of high quality ones that I think are actually going to be coming up on the horizon here. Obviously, we've partnered with Shrapnel as well. That's one I'm extremely excited about after the success of something like Dead Drop and extraction shooters, the FPS side of things. I've been playing this Reign of Titans game. Card games have been crushing with Parallel Alpha. Proof of Play raising $30 million is nothing to bat an eye at. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited because I just think that there's a lot of opportunity that's still shaping up in this side of things. And what's even more interesting is like these opportunities aren't the previous bull run, get rich, 1000x. It's like you should actually have fun with the game and maybe make a couple bucks too. Yeah. Like that's what I enjoy the most. And like most of the things I've been seeing is like the NFT is not in your face, which is a nice change of pace to what we've previously seen. Like these games are in browser or launched through like an Epic Game Store or Steam, where you're not hyper focused on like, okay, I have to buy this NFT to play this game to then potentially make $4. It's like I play this game because the game's actually fun and I'm interested in what's happening in this ecosystem. So I'm pleasantly surprised by the shift.
But you're seeing the Web3 people find it really hard to let go of that. They're just like, but the gaming bull run. It's like, no. Just because a lot of really great video games are going to be made that a lot of people are going to want to play doesn't mean that you get rich, you know, from owning assets from them. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the part that the Web3 people are having trouble letting go. When we had Ben from Iskra on the show, you know, talking about the new games that they're rolling out, he was talking about the struggle between the Web3 side of their business and the non-Web3 side of their business, and how all the engineers on the Web3 side are like, you got to connect a wallet. You got to connect a wallet. And they're just like, we just want people to play the game. Like that's number one. And the Web3 people are like, it has to have a wallet. It has to be Web3 native. They just like can't let go. But it's okay because ultimately it's just the way things are going. And these companies are all going to figure out what the best approach is to make a game that people want to play so that users are actually spending time on the platform. And there will be blockchain-based assets integrated. Kicks, look like you want to add something?
No, I think you're spot on. I think the models have changed in a big way in terms of like what people are looking like to produce. There's a lot of games where there's you know, like NFT gating used to be a big thing for games in 2021 to 2022, right? You had to like own the NFT to play the game, right? And that creates this whole supply imbalance because if there's more people wanting to play the game than there's available, and that's what the speculators want, right? They don't even want to play the game. They want to hold asset and just have asset 10x and then sell it, right? That's their version of Web3 gaming. When in actuality, a lot of these games, you don't even need an NFT to play, right? NFTs may be like a membership pass or something like that, right? Or they can represent a cosmetic in the game. Tokens can have different use cases as well. But that part I'm really excited about in terms of just like getting real players into the space. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of moves being happening. So I think Q1, Q2 of 2024. We're going to see a lot of releases, and it'll be interesting to see which ones catch steam.
Really excited to see it. I mean, Easy already mentioned our partner Shrapnel. The part of this that makes me excited is you look at the Shrapnel game. It's like, dude, this is a Call of Duty level from my perspective. Looking at the graphics and the gameplay, like first person shooter. That's not what we were seeing in 2021 and early 2022 when it came to games. Right? People would show a little like pixelated Pokemon lookalike of a guy walking around on something, and now we're seeing literally grenades flying, explosions everywhere. Nick.
These both have their place in the world. I want to be clear. Like there's not one does not replace the other. It's not like people are going to stop playing Candy Crush, which is I should add owned by Activision Blizzard, which is in the process of closing their acquisition with Microsoft finally for $68.7 billion, which is a pretty massive deal.
And get this, that's what Microsoft offered to buy Discord for during the bull run. And the Discord people said, nah, $65 billion isn't enough for me to sell. No one talks about that. That's the biggest bag fumble of the last bull run. Anyway, sorry, Nick, go ahead.
Well, you just talked about it. I feel like that's by the way, it wasn't 65 billion, it was 12 billion.
Oh.
Okay. So
that's still a lot of coin.
It is a significant amount of money. $12 billion. Do not get me wrong. That is a significant amount of money, but it is different than 65 billion.
I sure?
Yeah, I went and just Googled it. Took me about 2 seconds. Click Google.
I think Discord's worth more than 12 billion. So saying no probably makes sense.
Is it though?
Yeah, I think it's like one of the biggest. It's pretty much a social network and communication channel. Great monetization model.
Well, put it in these terms. Twitter was bought for 44 billion. The revenue is down 50%, so that could be around 22 billion. It looks like in 2022 they had 428 million in revenue. I don't know, maybe a 10x on that gives it. So what would be? I don't know what X's revenue was or Twitter's revenue was beforehand, but these are all numbers that I'm just throwing out, very quickly. Meta, which is I feel like an order of magnitude greater than these things, their annual revenue is over $116 billion. So that's something where it's like, okay, well, if they're at 116 billion with the valuation of 780 billion, you just take 780 divided by 116 and there's your multiple. So yeah, I don't know. I think 6x whatever their revenue seems about reasonable, or 7x that revenue. So I'd say they're worth 2.4 billion with the $12 billion acquisition offer. Should have taken it.
There you go. And we can roll this into the next thing before we talk to Christian from MetaMask. Clemente wanted me to discuss the new Web3 playbook with you, Nick. So basically the first 2 years of NFTs, during the hype cycle, the quote NFT Playbook was basically to create the most hype and speculation of quote something big is coming for as long as possible, right? Something big, something's coming. It's got to be something big. There's got to be something big coming.
That was mostly community fueled, by the way. So like I'd say that narrative was one where the collective actually breathed that. I don't know if you remember this, but Meebits was inherently implied that team was in the process of launching a metaverse, and the entire future was about to be completely disrupted by this team that literally just wanted the money. Like that was to them an art project. And when I ran into them,
what are they going to do next, man? They're probably going to launch the metaverse soon. So like get your Oculus, plugged in and ready to rumble. And they're like, we've rigged the voxels. We'll see you next year. Never mind. We won't see you next year. We sold the Yuga. We'll see you never.
We just got more money and now we're done. Yeah. It was pretty hilarious that situation. So most of that speculative conceptualization was fueled by the community. The only one that actually has attempted, I'd say Pixel Vault does have a game that's in you're seeing the alpha of that game.
Yeah, battle plan.
It looks legit. It's pretty cool that the characters are like representative of the NFTs. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I see that like groundbreaking there. And then you have the Yuga, I would say, is the other team that's kind of like built something out at scale. There's pretty much nobody else that's doing that. And the expectation of everybody is, well, you have Pudgy now selling toys to retail. That's like the outcome. And there's also a virtual world that theoretically, that does exist that I guess they want to continue developing. There's a bunch of different moving parts there. There's going to be an IP engine platform that lets you resell your IP and effectively collect dividends, not as a security though, obviously, because it's a licensing agreement. But basically, I want to buy this NFT and I want royalties, and I don't want to make any effort whatsoever involved. I realized what happened with Yuga was everyone that bought the ape was like, shit, now I got to build a business because I have an asset. I had said at that time, I was like, the hardest part of starting a burger shop is buying a $300,000 PFP. That's like really the
Imagine going to the bank loan for that and like, oh, your costs are coming in a little high. What's this branding line item here for $350,000?
It's like TikTok influencers that are like, I spent all my money on marketing because my accountant told me to, so I just bought a Lambo. And that's marketing right there. And I can deduct that, so I make no money, but I still have a Lambo. That's the way that the whole system.
A clip of that went viral yesterday of a digital marketer. He's like, this is my fourth car in this AP. I'm a digital marketer. If you're not a digital marketer, you're leaving cash on the table, idiot.
You got to market digits, man. It's just how you make this kind of money. I liked what DC Investor said yesterday when I think you guys asked him about Yuga Labs
a couple
days ago. And he said that they basically started as like a social club, right? And then like pivoted into gaming. And we've seen like, Pudgy Penguin's also social club. They're still kind of a social club, right? But they've just created a new stream of revenue. Then we have Azuki, right? Started as a social club. Now they're trying to do like metaverse comment. It's just interesting to see all of these different lanes that these projects are taking, somewhat similar in some ways and somewhat different in other ways. Yeah, I think a lot of people are realizing like that the models have to evolve, but I also think that there's probably a place for a PFP project that's just a social club, right?
I mean, look, there's different ways to think about that. There's sort of like just crypto projects. That's like what Miladies is. Like, for example, Bunny, when I brought up the idea that NFT projects have to be businesses, Bunny immediately responded, well, what about MFers and what about Miladies? And obviously those are not going to be businesses, right? There's not going to be on Angel List, the new startup Miladies. It's like, what the hell would that business be?
He actually tried to raise VC funding, apparently, according to...
Are you being serious?
Yeah, I mean,
another rumor?
He is totally wrong.
They did try to raise VC funding.
Yeah, right. Easy, right?
They did try to raise VC funding.
That's wild. Well, there you go. That's wild. But anyway, it is interesting that finally, and I pointed this out like 4 or 5 times during the week of the Pudgy Walmart activation announcement, that for the first time in the 2.5 years that I'd been in the NFT space, I saw that NFT people were accepting of an NFT business, right? Before that, it had to be a project. It would be bad if you're a business, because if you're a business, then the people that bought the NFT are customers, and that's bad, right? But the way Luca has presented the toys, the toy business, they're like, this is good. Like, this is actually good for the community, right? And so it's funny. Nick had a conversation with one of our holders last night, and it sounded like he was surprised at, just the amount of capital it takes to run the business. I think he might have thought that it was like, a couple grand a month.
And so we have like a small business, relatively speaking here.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, wow, you guys spend $1 million a year? That's it. That's insane. Over $1 million
like pre-COVID of spending like $500,000 a year. Like, that's a super lean organization,
Right. Well, think about it like this. There's
it's
7
frustratingly lean.
Right. It's frustratingly lean. That's the book Nick's gonna write. Frustratingly lean. How to run a pain in the ass business in 2024. That's gonna be Nick's book. But anyway, think about it. You got 7 artists. Do you think they're all free? 7 artists are free. We got 2 software engineers. Oh, those guys are totally free. You got benefits that you got to pay. You got taxes to pay, the payroll tax, Slack, payroll software, all this stuff. Anyway,
Slack. Huge
Slack's up there. Like when you're looking at it's like payroll taxes, Slack.
I know I'm going to get roasted for that. You can probably write a thread on it. But what I will say is when the Slack bill comes in every month, and I'm like, it's $250 a month. I am just kind of like, that is kind of a lot of money. Obviously, it's not a high cost in the business. It's a lot. But anyway, and then I had a separate conversation with a badass holder of ours that is going to actually come out to be a videographer for the Breakpoint event in Amsterdam, which I'm really excited about. But he had a quote. He was like, yeah, like that's why I believe in you guys, because you guys actually have a functioning business. He was like, how would you guys be able to operate right now if you were just a project? And I was like, yeah, dude. In other words, no stream of revenue, and literally the only way you can possibly make money is off of royalties. Yeah, we would not be able to operate.
Burning money, and people are like, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah,
light money on fire.
You serve us. I have an ape that I bought for $400 that's now currently worth $50,000, but I bought it for $400, and you now need to slave away for the next 5 years just working for me, and I expect everything for free. Okay, I expect everything for free. I have spent like a couple ape coin here and there just to because I thought it would help me in the game. Hint, it doesn't. Like literally no point of spending the money in there. I thought it would get me out of the room that I was stuck in that I couldn't figure out how to get the fuck out of because the button is somehow hidden in the UI.
You just toss a little ape coin. You're like, hey, if I toss it up in the jar, they'll just let me through to the next room.
Yeah, no.
Throw a little tip in here.
Didn't solve the problem.
I think Yuga is if they're doing a U-shaped transition from being a social club to gaming, they're at the bottom of the U. So I think it just feels tough right now, right? Because they're trying to run multiple different games or working with different game studios. They're trying to figure out a model. They're trying to expand away from just this relatively small size ape community to, more mass market. So, when darkest before dawn kind of thing, I think that making that big of a transition is tough, but I think maybe the next 6 months to a year will start to make more sense.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Also, the commenters are running with the Slack monthly bill thing. That's not a significant thing in our business. Just the other day, I got the email from Slack with the bill at the end of the month, and I was like, "Damn, it's that much! That is actually a lot."
Asana's $650. I feel or $6.
No, it's not that much per month. No way.
Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me.
Let me go look at what the price is right now. I'll tell you. It's
so much.
It's so expensive. Asana is one of the most expensive platforms, I'll say, in terms of how much it costs. I'll tell you what the last invoice was associated. It is, drum roll, please. Get excited. We're talking invoices on this show. $497
a month.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, at our company, we've definitely gone through all of the monthly bills, and we're like, oh, we have an extra seat on here we shouldn't have. Those things can really creep up on you.
Damn. All right. Well, we're gonna look at that. We're gonna see.
Just so you know, PO Monday.com was not significantly cheaper as a.
I like Asana better. I'm not a Monday.com maximalist.
Let's go.
What do so you're just operating up until this moment in your mind? You're like, PO hates Asana.
I literally have it on my calendar. We might need to move to Monday because of PO. It's a reoccurring thing at 7 a.m. every day. I'm like, this is crazy.
Just go to Trello, guys.
Well, look, speaking of people that are operating Web3 businesses, we have Christian Montoya, head of product for the MetaMask Snaps product at MetaMask. First of all, Christian, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Second thing, so how much money is MetaMask burning a month?
I can't answer that question. I'm not on the finance side. You'd have to talk to a finance person.
Just playing.
I bet their expenses are over $1 million a year, though. If I was going to bet on it, MetaMask has over $1 million a year in expenses.
We also pay for Slack, so let's just leave it at that.
Everyone's going broke because of Slack here.
Dude, they're balling out.
Well, Christian, thank you for joining us. This is the first time we've had anybody from MetaMask on the show. I think it might actually be the first time we've had anyone that works at one of the wallet organizations in Web3 on the show. And, we've been talking about what are the mainstay businesses of Web3. Well, really, it's marketplaces / exchanges, the OpenSeas, Blurs, and Coinbases of the world. And you can name more businesses businesses in that category. And then the wallets, right? And MetaMask, I think, is realistically the most widely used, at least for the Ethereum crowd, of all of the Web3 wallets. And MetaMask Snaps was announced. I mean, you can correct me on this, but it feels like in the last 3-4 weeks. And it's not every day that we hear of new products on the wallet side. So we wanted to invite you here and just help us understand. So why should people that are trading NFTs, why should people that are custodying Ethereum in a MetaMask wallet, why should they be aware of MetaMask Snaps?
So one of the things that MetaMask Snaps allows you to do is to start using other blockchains beyond Ethereum. So that we now have snaps that add support for Solana, Bitcoin, Cosmos, Tezos, things like that, right? So like now you can actually install these snaps that add support for these other blockchains, and you can actually custody those assets as well. So like now I can have my Tezos NFTs in my MetaMask, and I can have, you know, my Solana NFTs in my MetaMask. And so for anyone out there who maybe has those funds on exchanges and they're not using other wallets that support those blockchains, now you can just install Snaps instead, and you can bring those assets off those exchanges.
That's awesome because, for example, Starkware is pretty big right now with on-chain gaming, but I haven't like wanted to get into the hassle of creating a separate wallet. Looks like you have a Snap for Starkware, so I can just like install that on my MetaMask and start nerding out on those games over there.
Yeah, and so we actually have a Starknet Snap too. And
Right.
the reason that it was built was because Starknet is not EVM based, right? So you can't just
Rust,
connect
right?
to it with MetaMask. Yeah, so the Snap allows you to get onto Starknet and actually use MetaMask for Starknet.
In order to do that, though, so right now you have to go to, I think, snaps.metamask.com. Is that correct?
It's snaps.metamask.io.
Okay, sorry, .io.
Yeah. We save
And
a little money that way.
Actually, you don't. It costs more money, I guess, up front. Is someone else squatting on MetaMask.com right now? Is that the situation?
I don't know. I'm gonna get in trouble for that comment.
.io domains are so expensive to renew. Actually, it's like it's like an awful situation.
We got in on the ground floor. It was cheaper at Mint. Yeah, but
There you
yeah,
go.
snaps.metamask.io is how you can find all the different snaps that are available.
Is there any chance, I know I had asked you this when we were chatting the other day, is there any chance that the snaps will be, that I'll be able to add them directly from the wallet itself in the future?
Yeah, so we're being cautious about that right now because it's like this open beta phase. So like we don't want to just like directly, you know, put everything within the extension. But one of the things that we're exploring is how to recommend snaps within the extension. And you know, we're also working on like a roadmap for mobile as well, right? Because like right now it's just in the extension. You can access them on Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox or Brave, but eventually we want to enable it on Apple and Android as well.
I noticed that Soulflare is in there. They're a Solana wallet, and I'm wondering, like, from that standpoint, what incentive do other wallets have to like embed within MetaMask? Do they get more users as a result of it? Is there a separate onboarding flow, or like? Could you sort of like walk through what that is?
Yeah, it's like a completely separate product, right? So they have their Soulflare extension, which, you know, is like, I think the original Solana wallet in the browser. Now they have the Snap. They worked with us to build the Snap. You know, I've been in touch with the Soulflare team for like over a year now. And part of the motivation is a way to get MetaMask users into Solana, right? So MetaMask has like 30 million plus monthly active users. And that's their goal, is like, how can we get MetaMask users into Solana? You know, one way would be, try to convince them to install another extension. But for the ones that don't want to do that, it's a much lower barrier of entry to just install the Snap and start using that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Some of the commenters are asking for your skincare routine, by the way, and I'm wondering if that's just genetics.
No. There's a honey day and night cream at Trader Joe's that I've started using. Yeah, I'm pretty serious about this stuff. Yeah,
wow.
My wife doesn't let me go around being ashy, so this is what I have to do.
Oh, look at that. Well, first of all, the Web3 people could learn a thing or two, Christian, that's for sure. Second of all, got to watch out for the seed oils because you never know what's in that stuff when you buy it at Trader Joe's. Real quick, Christian, so you've been working at MetaMask. Is it for almost 2 years at this point?
Yes, 1 year and 8 months.
That's a long stint in Web3 like for employment, because there's a guy that we're friendly with. He actually lives in my building, and he has worked at so many companies and has just had bad luck because a lot of Web3 companies have had some turmoil over the past few years, right? What's it like working at a company like MetaMask now versus like peak bull run era? Do you feel, is there any difference in the feel of working there, or is it just kind of been pretty consistent given you guys are so established?
Yeah, I would say it's very consistent. What's interesting is that MetaMask grew pretty quickly in like 2020, 2021, and MetaMask has not been like totally, what's the word? Like it's not like MetaMask hasn't been affected by the market, right? Like every company feels the pain, right? So like the market affects everyone. But MetaMask has been very stable. And I would say, we've actually grown quite a bit. And so we had this big growth phase of really expanding the team and really expanding the different things that we're able to work on now. But I would say that most of the people that I work with are very heads down and like focused on what they're building and not like focused on the market or anything like that, right? So like I'm probably one of the ones within the company who's like more active on Twitter and more like seeing what's going on in the rest of the market. And I would say that like it's actually very refreshing to be around a bunch of people who are just like, they like the tech, they're building the tech, they're just trying to make a better wallet, and that's like what they think about every day.
Hell yeah. And, for a product like this, what kind of goes into creating it? I mean, does MetaMask, like from your perspective, are you solely focused on consumer facing stuff? Are you trying to build out products that technical people will want to use? Like, how do you kind of think about that? Because I think there's such an integration of technology in Web3. It's hard to, discern what's for someone that's technically savvy versus what's for the average consumer.
Yeah, I would say that like because MetaMask has such a large user base, we have to think about what you would say is like the average consumer, like someone who's not super tech savvy, someone who's like maybe a beginner and doesn't know a lot about like Web3, smart contracts, different chains, things like that. So, we're always thinking about how can we make this stuff more approachable to someone who doesn't have like a technical degree and doesn't know everything about how blockchains work. And so, and aside from that, I would say the way MetaMask operates is very much like first principles and values. So we're very much concerned about how can we make everything very transparent and very clear what's happening and make sure that the user's informed and not try to be like opinionated and say like, okay, this contract is safe to use because we say it's safe to use, right? And so, and then giving people options. So like with snaps, now we have these transaction insight snaps, and now there's like 7 different snaps that you can install that can give you more information about a transaction where you're going to interact with it. And rather than just us being like, here's one security product and like hope that that always covers whatever you run into, now it's like, okay, here's a whole suite of security products. And ideally everybody will use that whole range and not just rely on one provider.
That is a fascinating approach. I remember having a conversation with someone in at Art Basel last year at the NFT Now party from MetaMask, and I was just like, y'all, like, hey, I wouldn't even call it phished. Like, I've clicked on a malicious link, basically, like once or twice now, since I got into Web3. One right at the beginning, and then another time I'm on a call. Both times you're doing something else, and you're like, I got to go do this action real quick, and you take the action. Then you're like, whoa, no. And you're going through this process, and it's like you just get hit with this random scenario. And I was frustrated chatting with the guy, and I was like, yo, you guys are basically the largest consumer application in like the Web3 blockchain crypto space. I don't know how many users, if that's public, how many users MetaMask has in terms of like wallets, but I'm assuming it's at a minimum. Well, nowadays it's probably like 50, but during a bull market, it's I'm sure it's in the tens of millions, if not more, if not over 100 million people. Do you guys ever say actually how many installs?
We celebrated crossing 100 million installs last year, so I can't tell you like where we are now, but we were over 100 million installs. That's across the different clients, extension and mobile as well.
Yep. So that, I mean, so I'm guessing there's probably at least tens of millions of users, like active people who within this product. which is so significant. And the thought then I was just like, you can't say that security the security protection doesn't make sense, but it sounds like the approach, and obviously makes sense because you're running the product on the Snap side. Your approach is saying, hey, we can drive this on sort of an add-on Snap approach to say, hey, you can select these various security procedures that give you insights. I'm curious, what sort of insights do you get? And are there any snaps that you recommend that you think are like, hey, this one, like, here's some cool stuff that I've seen before, using the product X?
Yeah, there's a few different things. So when you go into the snaps directory, there's a transaction insights category. And within there's some snaps like Wallet Guard, Block Fence, Threat Intel, Tenderly. And then there's actually a couple others like SafeRoute and Assets Health Detection that are not like just when you do a transaction, but essentially they each use these different solutions. So it's either some registries, like there's one for Forta. Forta has these bots that track all these scams, and then they run these registries. And then when you go to make a transaction, you'll get information from the Forta network where it's like, oh, this is a known scammer. This contract has been used in phishing, things like that, right? And then there are some like that will actually use AI. So they'll have some hosted AI somewhere that's trained to identify potential scams, and that's what you'll get in the insights. And there's even some that will tell you, like there's one that essentially tells you if an address is sanctioned, right? So it's like probably involved in scams if it's been sanctioned. But then there's one that's really cool. It's called SafeRoute, and what SafeRoute does is completely separate. It's like it will set up a contract for you that's like a backup contract. That's like a kill switch. And if their monitoring service detects something happening with your account, like you're being drained, it will quickly transfer everything over to a backup account for you. And it's like totally self-custodial. So it's like, it's not just things that might warn you when you're about to make a mistake. It's like things for the full life cycle that can tell you or try to help you when something happens.
Now we're talking. That's awesome. And I feel like a lot of people, when they were thinking about it, they were like, well, how can you defend against a hack? Like, how could, given the technology, how would it be possible? What could you possibly do to prevent someone from hacking you? Well, you can do that. You can have an automatic AI-based trigger that moves your assets from your main wallet to a backup wallet that only you control. That sounds pretty good to me. That's awesome to hear that. I was about to ask a security related question, so you answered it proactively. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nick had any questions. It looked like he met. Okay. I was going to say, Christian, anything else that people should know about, what's coming with MetaMask and Snaps? Obviously your product for Snaps. So I don't know if you know anything that's going on kind of
Give us the internal product roadmap is what I'd be really interested in.
We have some stuff coming out later this year that we're working on. We announced in Paris at ETHCC over the summer that we're working on alternative account management. So we're trying to move away from just SRP as the way that everybody manages their wallet. When you set up MetaMask and it gives you the secret recovery phrase, and like that's the thing that you have to protect. And now people are working on all these different like account abstraction and like multi-party compute and all these different things. And so we're actually exploring like how can we support these other types of account management that are much safer. It's more like two-factor authentication, sign in with your mobile device, things like that. So we're going to be announcing stuff about that soon. And then we're also working on like name resolvers, like ENS alternative, naming solutions. Can I send to a lens profile from within MetaMask, things like that. So we're going to be adding a lot more social features, and we're just going to be really expanding a lot of what you can do within MetaMask through Snaps.
Really cool stuff. It's going to be fascinating to see it develop. It's great to know that a mainstay in the Web3 space is continuing to develop products, with users in mind. And that security stuff is epic. I mean, that's so necessary. Thanks for joining us today, Christian. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We do the show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, each and every week. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, if you'd like to listen outside of the Twitter bubble. Also available on YouTube if you want to actually watch the stream. And we stream that video to X, to Twitter also. So if you want the video experience, it's available for you. A big shout out to Christian from MetaMask for joining to talk about Snaps today. We will be back on Monday. We have a guest on Monday as well. So a lot of guests on the show recently. So really exciting stuff. Everybody have a